Hey, rock stars, we are live on location at the Roundup Wellness Retreat in Dripping Springs, Texas, part of the KW Young Professionals Recharge Mental Health, Emotional Health Wellness Retreat. It's honestly been an awesome weekend. And so Real Estate Rockstars is live here. I am not Aaron. However, if you're a longtime listener, you may remember me from 2019, 2020, when I was the host. My name is Ian Lobas, and today I am joined by not only a panel of amazing people, I'm joined by an audience of amazing people who just went through this retreat. And I think it's fair to say that you got your minds blown, right? Yeah. Yeah. See, this is live. That's not a sound effect.
From all over the country too.
Yeah, they're real people.
Not paid actors.
No. So we're gonna wing this thing, and it's gonna be really, really, really awesome because we're gonna be talking about mental health challenges that top producing agents and even agents getting into the business, in their attempt to grow their business, to get out of their own way, to stop self-sabotage and burnout, balance their work life or their personal life and their work life, manage stress, manage time, manage themselves, all those different things. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a lot of functional health stuff and mental well-being with a doctor.
Yes.
And so first, let me introduce our first guest, Melanie Kennemann, Keller Williams University Master Faculty, Leadership Coach, Hall of Fame team leader. You really are a Hall of Fame team leader.
Yes.
Like your name is all around. MAPS Leadership Coach, KW Leadership for over 17 years, and an expert in growing market centers with top producers. So attracting and retaining top level talent, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And she's a podcast host of The Second Half, where she interviews guests with a playing to win mindset, which we talked about yesterday, playing to win versus playing not to lose. So we could talk.
Amen. That's the whole.
We can talk a lot.
Yep.
And then Dr. Lauren Hutson, Austin Medicine at austin.medicine, right?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I'm reading it, so I'm just making sure.
Yeah, no,
it's real.
100% accurate.
24/7 concierge functional health physician.
Yes.
We're going to be talking to you about some real deep dive stuff about the body, the cells, like what people in general can do to optimize their body and their brain for optimal performance.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah. Sweet.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, Bill Cafferata, top producing agent, serving Austin, San Antonio. It says large family here. Your family's more than large, dude.
It's a lot.
I just experienced 4 days of Bill's family at his house, and they're so amazing. You would think that 4 little kids at 3 years old, 4 quads at 3 years old, and a 6-year-old would be taxing, and it's not. They're like really sweet, well-behaved, awesome kids, and they loved me because I loved on them.
We can thank my wife, Starlin, for that one.
Yeah.
Special person to be a parent to.
Yeah.
4 kids. Like you think about the pressure of twins, right? And 4 kids at one time. And you look younger every day. I see you, darling.
I appreciate that.
4 kids at one time that's no joke. And
Quite
during the pandemic, by the way,
That's right.
during the pandemic. So like just add the level of difficulty.
And they were in the NICU during Snowmageddon here in Austin, and we couldn't even get up there to see them for 8 days.
Oof.
So you couple in the pandemic, having quads, can't even get there. You're snowed in, ice storm. It was a wild
Craziness.
Wild
Craziness. All right, we're going to kick this thing off. For any of you listening, yes, this has a lot of KW stuff. Just ironically, we're all KW agents. However, it's not KW derived and it's not KW based. This is for people, and this is for people in real estate, period. It's for humans who want to perform at a higher level in real estate, period.
In life.
Yeah, in life.
Yeah.
And the idea behind it is we don't have these conversations enough. We're so concerned about our GCI and how much money we're making and what we're doing and our lead gen, right? And that's what these conversations always become. And now it's become the NAR lawsuit and how we're going to handle that. We're not checking in on ourselves. We're not making sure that we're okay as people. We're not making sure that we're okay as coworkers and in each other's lives. And that coworker piece is important because a big thing, one of the hugest mental health challenges in real estate is isolation and loneliness. And making sure you find your people and you have a way to connect and really make yourself available to others is really important. So super excited to have this conversation. We know you're going to get a lot out of it, and it might be the most important talk you have all year.
So let's kick off with Melanie. So the 5, and by the way, everybody listening, we're in a metal building with concrete floors and 0 insulation. So the sound's going to be a little different. We're going to, hopefully you hear this and it's a little more compressed and our editing team is taking care of it.
We're doing our best.
Enjoy
Yeah.
the echo.
I mean, we have the best microphones. Like that's the thing. We have the best microphones. The environment matters. And that actually may be a topic of mental health is like, what's your environment look like? So I'm going to give the audience 5 pieces of breakdown. So burnout and stress, financial instability and pressure, work-life imbalance, isolation and loneliness, and then performance pressure and comparison. All of these we could do like hours on. Which one comes up to you? Like which one hits the top of your head? You want to
Funny,
talk
they
about?
all hit. And
Yeah.
I have such a story I want to open with if I
Okay.
have your permission. Okay.
Please.
You know, you think about, we all put that on the back burner, right? Of our lives is the personal well-being, whether it's your health, whether it's your physical, whether it's your spirituality, whatever that is for you, you put that on the back burner because everything in front of you matters more, whether it's your business, lead generating, getting the deal done, paying the bills, all the stuff. And one day you look up and you're like, I'm not happy though. I have all these things, but I'm not happy. But I want to open with a story that's super impactful because I heard as a young age, and I've been in the business 18 years, 17 of them like leading at a very high level. Like I was born a leader. It's what I do. My whole goal in life is to bring the greatness out in people. It's what I do. And I remember hearing Gary Keller say, if you don't take care of yourself, where are you going to live?
Yeah.
And I always thought, what does that even mean? But I was that team leader that just ignored that and didn't take care of myself. And I'm like, I'm going to have 5 cups of coffee in the morning. I'm going to have a cookie from the title company at lunch and then going to go home, open a bottle of wine. And at some point, my body stopped me about 8 years ago. Right. So I've been on my own journey. And I love that you have functional doctor here, big believer in that. And I've known Bill his entire career. But here's the story I want to start with. Gary Keller talks about this in his book, and he talks about this a lot. And again, this is not KW exclusive. This is for life in general. And I've had this conversation so many times with people. So there's a man who wants to spend the day with his son. And he's reading the newspaper in the morning, having a cup of coffee. And the sun comes down a little earlier than he was planning. And he's like, oh, I just want a couple more minutes just to finish the newspaper. And then I want to have son one-on-one with my son. And so he thinks he's smart and he sees this part of the paper and he puts it in pieces, puts it on a table. And he said, son, go put that puzzle together. When you put that puzzle together, it's daddy and son time. So he goes back to the paper, reads the paper. He's like, I'm so smart. The kid comes back like a minute later and he's like, Dad, I'm done. And he looks and he's like, oh my gosh, my son's a genius. The puzzle is put together. And he said, son, how did you do that so quickly? And the son said, well, Dad, a piece fell on the ground. I went down to grab it. It was a glass table. And I looked up and I'm like, oh, wow. On the other side, there's a face of a man. So I turned all the pieces of the paper over and I put the man together and the world fell into place. And that's like everything in our life and mental health, your emotional state, your health. Those are actually the driver of everything else. And when you put yourself together, your whole world falls into place. And yet we avoid that. And so working with high achievers like I have for so long, it's what I do. It's who I am. I have lived that example of what burnout looks like. And I take everybody with me. So if you're not taking mental health seriously, if you're not taking your health seriously, at some point, life will remind you that it's a priority and it will just stop you. And that's why this topic is so important for everybody.
And I was the agent, top producer that hit that. Next year, I'll do this. Next year, I'll do that. In 6 months, in 3 months. And then I just kind of came up for air and something shocked me where I became present for a second. And I'm like, I really don't like my life. Like the bank account's full and clients are counting on me and I'm getting referrals and all these deals. I'm just miserable. And I just don't like this at all. And I was scared because without that identity, like we talked about it this weekend, without that identity of top producer, without that identity of the real estate agent that this group chooses, who will I be? And I think a lot of agents are scared of that.
So good.
And there's also that piece, the last piece that I mentioned, performance pressure and comparison, that when we look at a top producer, we also don't know like the 95% of their life behind the scenes. We know them on stage talking about their highlights on Instagram, showing their highlights.
Yeah.
Yet we don't like, I kind of watch people, like I'll watch a top producer, you know, walk up with a Monster Energy drink. Nothing against it. It's just, do you know what you're putting into your body, right? Cyanocobalamin. We may be able to talk about that later, right?
Toxic.
Four times higher amount of cyanide than your body actually can take. And it's masked as B12. However, it's cyanide derived, and it's derived from a very disgusting source. We're not going to talk about that yet. So like I'm watching how people live their lives. And so when I started interviewing and hiring coaches, I realized how disconnected and incongruent their lives were to what they were portraying as this higher being, you know? And I'm sure you've seen that before too.
All the time.
And I
You-
travel around the world speaking to real estate agents and investors and coaching. And the one thing they see is my consistency. So whether I flew to Japan and Guam in April, fly out here, I carry the same food. I have the same routine. I do the same yoga every morning. I eat the same thing at the same time most of the time, because sometimes like time just goes a little farther. And then I'll back it up because I know that that really works for me. And I also want people to see like, oh, well, that guy's not full of it because he actually practices what he preaches.
You're role modeling the behavior.
Yeah.
Right. You're role
Not just the
modeling.
words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other piece of that is you're also being authentic to your life.
Yeah.
Because your life today is very different from when you had that, like, I don't really like my life. Correct. I
8 years ago. Yeah.
very different, right? Very different. And so I can totally relate because I literally stepped out of that team leader role. For those in our world, the team leader is the director of the show, right? And the clients are you guys, the agents. And for a long time, I had in my head, like, ugh, who am I if I'm not the team leader?
Yeah.
The team leader. Like I've mentored team leaders and then I realized the best way for me to continue leading on my journey is to step out of the role and lead my most authentic, genuine life.
Yes.
And
But
I
when we
can't
say
tell-
team leader, we're not talking an individual team. You're downplaying that. You ran one of the biggest market centers in the entire country.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
Over 1,000 people.
Exactly. So I relaunched 3 different locations. And so for team leader is like the manager of the office, although I don't like that word because manage makes people small, leaders empower people, right? But literally when I moved to Austin and I met you, I mean, that South Market Center, we grew from 500 to 900. And then the last, you know, is growth, but it's growth of people. You know, I had the biggest compliment somebody gave me as one of our agents at South is for my birthday. She gave me these 2 pots and they were full of succulents and they're all different sizes. And she said, for your birthday, I wanted to give you this because you know what you are, Melanie? You're a gardener of people. And you don't care if they're big, mega agent or just starting out. You believe in everybody and you help people see the beauty in themselves. So for me, my best leadership challenge was to be happy and to step out, take care of my health. And it's amazing how much more power you have when you live in authenticity.
Yeah.
Too, which I
Yeah.
love that you're doing that because it's authentic. People can feel it and you're
Yeah.
role modeling the behavior of what it looks like to live a big life.
I mean, we created an entire brand around it called the Irreplaceable Leader. At first, it was the Irreplaceable Man because it was me building myself into an irreplaceable person first, then an irreplaceable agent and an irreplaceable family member and an irreplaceable leader and an irreplaceable, you know, every community member.
Yeah.
And so the content, the curriculum, the way I teach, the way I coach, the way I speak, it has to be modeling off of irreplaceable so that you can take all my stuff because no one can do it like me. Like we were talking earlier, no one can do it like you because you found your authentic self. And as much as that isn't like sexy and it doesn't bring big checks right away in this like
Later.
fast pace, I want it delivered fast.
Yeah.
That is how you sustain
Yeah.
big growth. And it's how you sustain the balance in your life.
That's right.
You
And
know?
what really is your wealth, right? It's
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah.
And so many of the top people, whether they're leaders or agents, you know, it's all the same personality, go-getters, right?
Yep.
Is they're missing something in their life and either they're not taking care of themselves or it's not actually more money they want, it's time
Yeah.
because they never spend time with their kids. All that comes down to that mental health that's chipping you away
Yeah.
because you're not living the life that you really want to live.
And there's a massive amount of friction and incongruence and resistance present. And as we move into well, actually, Bill, I want to go right into Dr. Lauren, if you're cool with that, because really what we're talking about is the external, right?
Yes.
And so I think people think, well, you know, I'm hustling and grinding, and then I'm just going to go work out. And they might not realize how detrimental that could be to their body, because the fuel going in, like all the intake, one is not being, it's not being done purposefully.
Right.
And they're also not measuring anything else about their internal body. Now, they may feel like anxiety and things like that, and that might be their measurement of like, well, I'm not that anxious today, so I might be having a good day. However, there's a lot of other factors here. So I just want to move into like the functional body, cellular,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
deep down.
Yeah. So fortunately, I have the experience of also working in a hospital where people are at their worst, right? They have lived difficult, they have lived hard, they have lived without taking care of their mental health and their physical health. And the most important thing to realize between these two things is that they're not separate. We often get, stuck in this world of health soup, right? Mental health, gut health, heart health,
Yeah.
but it's all completely related. And seeing these people in the hospital, they're on, on their hospital bed, and they're thinking, what do I need to do to get out of this space? Because nobody loves being in the hospital.
Hmm.
And that kind of catapulted my career into functional medicine, because a lot of the things that these people were in the hospital for were things that could have been prevented.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of not doing the daily routines that you speak on, not investing in your physical
Yeah.
health to propagate your mental health, because they're not separate. At the end of the day, what you do every single day consistently matters more than what you do every once in a while.
Right.
So,
And I think people think that like, well, everything in moderation is okay. However,
No.
moderation creeps up when you have no discipline or consistency in the foundational pieces.
yes.
And so it's like, well, a little cheesecake's not going to hurt. And then
Right.
a little cheesecake turns into like 2 days a week. And then it's like,
Right.
well, a little bit of wine
Mm-hmm.
and then a little bit of this.
Yes.
Well, then, I can, look, we were tired and my kids just needed to eat. And I just grabbed some McDonald's real quick. And all of a sudden you're 5 days a week and you're wondering why you're so lethargic,
Yeah.
dragging out of bed every day. And in your mind, you're like, I eat well though.
Mm-hmm.
I only eat, junky sometimes. And then if we track that, which I'm obsessive with tracking everything in and everything out of my
Right.
body,
Yeah.
as well as my output, like my physical output. If you track it, you actually see you're actually doing a lot of hurt, a lot of bad, a lot of non-serving to your body.
Right. And our body ideally is a machine, right? What you put in it completely matters. The quality, the timing, all of that is so important to your output. So, for example, if you're living on nothing but caffeine and you're wondering, man, why am I so damn tired? Why can't I focus? Why do I need an afternoon nap? Well, half the population is walking around dehydrated because caffeine is just a means to an end of, trying to get that extra little boost, that extra little focus. But at the end of the day, if you continue to do that over and over again, you're depleting your body of nutrients that it needs, especially vitamins that we need to focus. So 60% of the United States is vitamin D deficient, and vitamin D is so important for your focus, for your hormone health, and to be optimal, to transfer that energy to cell, to be the best dad, to be the best mom, husband, wife. Like, you have to have optimal levels of nutrition in order to be your best self.
Yeah.
And that's why I take it back to, your environment is important, because your environment is part of what you eat. You can't expect to have, a double cheeseburger and then be able to, sell $2 million the next day, because they're totally connected. You get most of your neurotransmitters from your gut.
Yep.
So if your gut health is off, then your mental health is going to be off. I mean, after 2020, the rate of suicide went up 800% in the United States. 800%.
Is that, we have like 10 minutes and there's like 50 million questions, because I'm super versed in this topic, because I've had to heal myself from Crohn's disease and from gut, imbalance and dysbiosis. So is that because, there's probably a lot of factors, external factors. However, the internal factors, is that because serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, like they're all really suppressed because of the food and the gut biome and the way it's reuptaking, and like the brain's just not getting it. And so depression is hitting harder and harder. And then you've got the external forces just forcing it into the ground.
So 2 factors. Right now in the United States, our food, unfortunately, is the worst it has ever been. And what I mean by that, it's nutrient deficient
Yep.
and it has a lot of chemicals in it that our body doesn't know what to do with. So,
That aren't good for us.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so those end up as toxic byproducts. And eventually, guess what happens? Those change the epigenomics.
Mm.
When you change your epigenomics, you age faster. You
Yeah.
age faster. And part of aging is your cognition, right? You're not as can't find that word as fast as you used to. Man, who was that? Where did I leave my keys? And you start noticing this more and more and more.
I thought
And-
that was ADHD.
It's
it has-
compounded.
It's so
Compounded.
compounded. It's
Yeah.
so compounded. And ADHD also, I mean, there is a factor of, what you eat too.
Yep.
So
I
definitely.
think let's ADD for a second off of gut health and
Sure,
onto ADD.
Sure.
My kids are like, my daughter is the exact same as me. She looks like me. She's built exactly like me. We're like little twins. She's like my little shadow. She has the same hair color, skin color, everything. And the difference between her behavior as a little kid, she's 8, and my behavior as a little kid, I think is directly linked to the type of nutrients we're putting into her body versus that were put into my body. Now,
Absolutely.
granted, 40 years ago, it wasn't a thing. Like nobody ate gluten-free back then because in the early 80s, it wasn't an issue because it wasn't so over processed and over bleached and over this, and stripped out. So I think, and there's also nurture and there's also the environment. And so I have seen a direct correlation to nutrition based on like what I do and what I eat. Same with my son. And don't get me wrong, they're not as obsessive as I am, and I'm not as obsessive with them as I am with myself. However, I watch kids go to school dragging,
Mhm.
and I watch them come out like zombies. And my kids go to school bouncing around, and they leave bouncing around, and they might be a little tired because the days are taxing, especially in the beginning of the year. However, what you give your kids, and we have like some really big, pretty simple rules, like no colors, right? No artificial colors, and no heavy dairy, like processed milks, and no heavy gluten.
Right.
And that's just a start because I don't
Yeah.
want their little biomes to get as messed up as mine. Antibiotics, I'm a no because I know what it did to my gut.
Yeah.
And, they have had one round in their lives.
Yeah. That's
And
pretty
then-
impressive.
And then you've got the pool, right? Like you and I were talking before, as a semi-pro swimmer my whole life, I was in a pool and I had 100 rounds of antibiotics. So what's that going to do to my gut biome? Destroy it.
Yeah.
So why
I
did
get so many patients in my clinic that have had at least 10 rounds in 1 year and they expect their problem to go away. And I'm like, okay, so after the 3rd round, did you really think that it was going to change? And unfortunately, a physician or an NPPA convinced them that it would. But I mean, once you try something 3 times and it doesn't work and the output is not different, it's likely not going to work
Yeah.
thereafter. Unfortunately, and
Crazy.
you're not really doing anything except creating antibiotic resistance and
Right.
damaging your
Yep.
gut lining. And it doesn't take much to do that these days. But
I think there's a lot of buzzwords of like, oh, gut health and mental health and emotional health and all these different things. Self-care, self-love,
mhm,
and explain to the audience who might not know or just might not have the level of education that they desire. Like this weekend, we talked about the gap between where you are and where you want to be and where is possible to be, and you're capable of getting there. How important is gut health in the grand scheme of things, from like who you need to be or who you are to who you could be, as far as the authentic or irreplaceable you, and then where you are in your life or your business compared to the gap of where you're capable of getting to? How important is gut health?
I say it's pretty up there.
Yeah.
Hippocrates is the one who said many, many years ago, if all disease starts in the gut, so you
Yep.
could pretty much stem everything from there. And if you want to optimize your focus, your selling, your energy, all the things that you strive to be, it's going to start with your gut. And that you may need to invest, do a food allergy test, do a stool test, but really just changing the diet to be more whole foods, and because that's where you get your nutrients from. And if you don't have those nutrients, you cannot run all the cellular reactions that you need to
Yeah.
on a daily basis. Because right now, as we're sitting here, billions and billions of cellular reactions are happening to produce energy. And if you're eating a bunch of junk, you're not going to get that energy that you so wish to have.
Yeah.
So I say it's super important.
I would think it's like either number one or number two.
I
Yeah,
would
the
say,
the food you eat is almost more important than working out, really, right?
yeah.
And
And
people miss that piece. They'll go to the gym and work out. I'm
Mhm.
not seeing the results.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what are you putting in your body, right? I think the other really important piece, though, and I know that we got to move on to Bill, but the other important piece I think with functional medicine that's so beautiful, I'm really a believer of it, is how everything's tied together. So it's everything you guys just talked about,
Yeah.
but it's also your feelings and the mental part of that. Functional a lot of times touches on that. That's
Yeah.
how it opened me up to all that the stress I'm in, that he's like, Melanie, you're taking on more and more. I'm like, yeah. He's like, so why are you just trying to have another crash? Not realizing that it's all related, right?
Yeah.
It's all related.
quick thing on that. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. James Gordon is.
Yeah.
You do? Okay. So mind, body breathing, that's something that you can do in your house alone. You don't need any crazy tools for it. You just breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, 5 minutes, morning and night, and it can transform your way of thinking for the day. And it's been proven. I'm not just saying this as hoopla, but these are actual scientific studies that he did. He's out of Harvard, that showed a lot of transformation from trauma. And of course, we've all had trauma, right?
I mean, look at the most painful voluntary situation in a woman's life, childbirth. right?
Yes.
Lamaze is breath work.
Yes.
That's what Lamaze is.
Mhm.
It's calming that para and sympathetic nervous
Mhm.
system to go back to homeostasis. Now, one thing I'll leave on and just make a quick comment on it is the challenge with that is if you're looking, it's like looking for antibiotics to fix everything.
Mhm.
It's going to shut everything off. It's going to kill all gut biome, and all the bad and the good are going to go. If you're doing breath work and you're expecting it to calm your central nervous system, your vagus nerve, your autonomic stuff, if you're looking for it to calm you or get rid of anxiety, yeah, you have 4 cups of coffee that day, or you're drinking a ton of alcohol at night and your liver's processing all night, or you're dehydrated. It's not going to work in the result that you're looking for, right? So
Right.
now we're still in a gap. And so now we have to go back. We have to look at ourselves and say, okay, well, what habits, what skills, what behavior, what do I need to teach myself or learn from somebody else that can get me that result that I want? Because right now I'm just frustrated and angry, And so, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
intake is massively important.
Totally, 100%, because you cannot get optimal output if you're not at least putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and what you eat and what you drink, your sleeping habits, so important.
Yeah.
And screen time. I mean, screen time is a huge deprivation of our melatonin.
Yep.
So if you are going to be on a screen, I highly suggest getting blue light blockers, because if you don't sleep, how are you going to focus and have high energy the next day? It's
Sleep is everything.
So
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
So-
so right. All right. Well, we could do hours
I know,
on this
I know.
alone. Hours
Sure.
on this. I think we gave really good foundational pieces. And now it's the audience's job to in a mindset of curiosity, I want more. I need more depth on that. And it's your responsibility to self-advocate and ask for help, audience. And it's your responsibility to go to Google and find a reputable source or just contact you.
yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Just DM Dr. Hutson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And if
Yeah.
you're not in Austin, well, you do virtual also.
I
right?
do. I
And
do.
Functional medicine, I think, is the wave of the future.
It
for
is.
Yeah.
sure. Functional medicine. Yeah.
And I do want to say one thing that I worked with Bill on, if you don't mind me speaking on it, to help with his environment, his focus, and his mental health. I advocated for him to get a walking desk, or
Oh, yeah.
a walking
Game
a
changer.
walking pad and a standing desk, because with his history of ADHD, it helps him focus. It
Yeah.
literally turns his brain back on.
Yeah.
And that's a simple fix.
The difference in when I'm walking and working versus sitting and working is astronomical. It's just the focus. I can get 3 times more work done. I'm not my part of it. The way I feel is my brain, because of the ADHD, is always working in different ways and moving, and wanting to do something else. I need another stimulation, but I'm focusing on the walking pad, so I'm not falling.
Yeah.
And then it unlocks my brain to actually do the other thing. So I am doing 2 things at once, but I'm actually exercising while walking and not scrolling on TikTok and trying to write a contract.
And by the way, you look amazing because you just
Thank
lost
you.
a ton of weight. How much weight
Well,
did you just lose?
That's thanks to Dr. Hutson. I'm down about 45, 47 pounds now.
Incredible.
Since April.
Wow.
Combination of a lot of semaglutide, the gut biome, a lot of different supplements, vitamin D, increasing vitamin D,
Diet.
and the making sure my gut is right. Just been
Hydration.
incredible. Hydration.
Yeah.
Hydration. Yep.
It's like adding years to your life when you do something like that.
It is. And part, well, so I've
Like when your
never,
kids.
I've never really enjoyed going to a doctor or trusting a doctor, because as a bigger guy, you go to a doctor and they don't treat you the way you want to be treated. So like I went to a local like clinic here when I was sick and I thought I had the flu, which turned out may have been something else at the time. But I went and asked for a flu test and wanted to make sure I wasn't sick and get, I was coaching at the time and at school, I didn't want to keep people sick. And the doctor came in and they were like, oh, yeah, you're just really overweight. That's why you feel like this. You just need to like, do you know how to eat like lean chicken and maybe exercise? I was like, yeah, I know how to do all those things, but like I'm coughing up a lung and I'm pretty sure I have the flu. Can we work on that? And he just told me how to like lose weight and walked out. And then the nurse came in and I said, okay, can you give me a flu test? Oh yeah, we'll give you a flu test. It was the last time I ever went to that clinic. So I never had the trust in doctors, but working with Dr. Hutson, like I understood. I'm like, hey, I have this going on with ADHD. I have this going on trying to lose weight. We had just had quadruplets. For the first 6 months they were alive, my wife and I sat on a couch and fed babies in a circle. And we had an amazing support system who would drop off food for us. But, when people drop off food, it's a casserole, it's a lasagna, it's brownies. So we're just like eating food that we shouldn't be eating and sitting on the couch feeding the babies. So I gained like another 30 pounds during that time. But I've made changes and it's very sustainable because it just is the way that we do things. So big thanks to her on that. It's
work.
You're putting in the work though.
true.
Yeah.
That's half the battle.
Oh, it's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about a commitment, right? We
Yeah.
talk about integrity all the time. You either have it or you don't. If a building doesn't have it, it falls, right? It's not like the building has a feeling of like, I'll just stay up now because I don't want to crush those people inside. And as soon as they leave though, I'm definitely falling because this is ridiculous. I'm not standing up anymore. Without integrity, nothing works.
Right.
So like you have integrity to your commitment. And although there are slides, like people will ask me like, how do you have ultimate integrity? And I was like, well, one, it's OCD. It's just channeled into really healthy serving things. And
My
two,
personality type.
yeah, it's my personality type. And two, you can bend and you just get yourself right back. That's how you test your integrity to yourself and your commitment to you. Because how many people, like we talked about it yesterday, how many people will break their own commitment to themselves to go show a house that they don't even have a buyer agency sign. However, they'll go show that house, or they'll run over and put a sign up because the seller said, hey, your sign fell down. I was going to go to the gym. I was going to go food prep. However, the sign has to go up, and you just quit on yourself. And I think the clients that you really want to work with are the ones that really respect your boundaries and your integrity to you. That's what I found. And I was terrified of telling people that I couldn't do something for them because I have something to do for me. And the moment I started saying like, no, I have date night on Tuesday, I don't do listing appointments, I don't go anywhere, I started getting more listings. People were like, oh, I love it. The first one was a couple getting divorced and they were FSBO. And I said, I'm not able to come tomorrow night. So either sign it now or, I'll come back Wednesday. And they were like, what are you doing that's so important? You're going to make like 30 grand on this deal. And I said, date night. And I felt so strange. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose 30 grand for a date night. That's so dumb. And the wife said, if you had treated our marriage like that, we wouldn't be getting divorced. And I was like, oh my God, it worked. And so she signed it right there. And then from there on, I thought, oh, wow, people will respect me if I respect me. Okay, well.
And there's a cellular reaction that happens inside of your body that is so positive for the rest of your body.
Yeah.
When you are authentic to yourself like that,
Yes.
instead of doing the thing that you don't really want to do.
Yep. Agreed.
So you must feel amazing with yourself a little bit. I mean, not to, like how's that impacting your mental health and everything you going through this journey? It's
been a journey for sure. I mean, having quadruplets is physically taxing, mentally taxing. I can't even imagine what my wife went through. I know what she went through, but we'll never understand that. And like, it just changes so much in you and what you do and the output that you have to give. Because now you're not giving, we went from a family of 3 to a family of 7, like overnight. And that just changes how you do things. And
Say that in the
No.
but
lifetime.
when we look at this business, right? We look at this business, we're in a very difficult business. This is not an easy business. It's stressful. There's a lot going on. When you look at those challenges we see, like the burnout, the financial instability, I mean, yeah, do real estate agents make a lot of money? Yes. Consistently? Maybe not. The market here in Austin, very difficult, very challenging this year. Somehow I'm on pace to have my best year ever. It doesn't feel like it. I actually had a mini mental breakdown last week with my wife, just like I just needed to vent and get it out. And I sat her down. I said, listen, I'm stressed to the max right now. I'm working 10-hour days. It is frustrating. Absolutely nothing is closing. Deals are not happening. And I'm working 50 hours a week minimum and not getting a paycheck. And that frustrates me. And I needed to tell you that and let you understand that. Then I went back to work, kept going through the process. And then this week put 1.75 million under contract. And
We attribute it to me.
is it's
Yeah, I'm now in your orbit and your environment in person. And
He showed up, right?
Yeah.
Podcast.
but you see that, right? And you understand that, and you just keep doing the right things, and you have to be able to manage that. You have to get it out. Like that was bubbling up inside of me. I just had to say it.
Yeah.
I had to say it. Like frustration is, we talked about it yesterday. It's a marker, right? When you see that, you have to understand it and what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? And move through that. And we did that.
Well,
But
diffuses the situation because you're being real with yourself. You have to
Yep.
get real to get right? So you took that as like, this is what I'm feeling, but also we pay attention to our words around it too, because words
100%.
matter.
and
Words matter,
It-
right? So
they
it's
absolutely matter.
Stress, turn that around to, demanding or whatever. You have a choice to do that. Every day we have a choice.
without
And I
question.
think the way that we deal with stress really matters.
Yeah, the
And so that's
stress.
how it turned around for you. You got it out. You found a way to release that with your wife, and now it's turned around because your energy precedes you. And so that's why when you're feeling like you're failing or whatever, it's really important to have a safe place where you have that outlet so you can kind of reframe yourself because other people feel what you're not saying if you get in a stressful state, right?
And you're also
Yes.
attracting in the pressure from inside and you're not saying it. However, that's the energetic field that you have inside your body. It's radiating outward. So the universe is like, well, I'm not going to deliver this until you get rid of that.
Yeah.
So now you speak it out loud. You come up with a plan. Like we talked about formulas and structure to not just like bleed out. It's a structure. There's a formula to it. I'm going to get this out in a responsible serving manner because it's not serving me. And I'm going to go continue to do this without that and see if the formula gives me a different result.
It leads back to environment as well, though, because
Yeah.
you need to have the right people in your life. You need to have the people
Yeah.
you can call on when you need those moments. And we saw that this weekend at this retreat, because one of the biggest challenges that we see is the isolation and loneliness, right? Well, this retreat was about 25 different people from around the country. We had people coming in from the East Coast, the West Coast, North Carolina, Florida, and we lean on each other as a community to help through these times. Like some of us are having a booming market, some of us are having a down market, but we're here working together and seeing what the others are going through and helping. And that's the beauty of this Young Professionals Network, because we lean on each other all the time, multiple times a year, and it takes away that isolation. We are in an isolated industry.
Mm.
Unless you have a large team and there's different cultures around that. But like as an agent, if you're a single agent, you have one of the hardest jobs in the world. You don't have coworkers per se. Like, yes, you have your team leader. Yes, you have your coach. Yes, but you are running your own business by yourself with some leverage, but it is not that environment that you see in other industries. So we have to find ways to lean on each other. And in doing that, you can then work through the other things. A huge one for me that I won't bend on is the work-life imbalance or balance, right? As a dad with 5 young children, I could absolutely double my production if I put my head down and did it. I'm not willing to do that right now because I'm not in that season of life. I'm on pace. I'm going to do about 10 to 12 million this year. Could I hit 20? Yep. Am I willing to miss things that my kids are doing? Am I willing to not coach my son's soccer team? Am I willing to miss dance? No. Ian saw it in person this week staying with me where, I get up, my wife is a pediatric emergency room nurse. She's an absolute saint. Like she's out at the hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm dad until 10. We have help. We have our nanny or my mother-in-law comes. So until 10 a.m., I'm dad. Then when I'm working, the kids are in the office with me. I'm got a TV in there. They're watching something. I'm working. I go from desk to desk, back and forth, up and down. And they go with me on showings. My daughter is the best showing assistant ever. We take them places. We do these things because that's what's important to me. And the reason I really stress that is because it's okay to have your profession look a little bit different.
Yes,
If you work with me,
absolutely.
you know
Yeah.
I'm going to have kids and they're going to be around. And people enjoy that. And if you don't, sorry, you're just not the client for me. And I'm
It's your
okay with that.
authentic brand too, which is
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's not like you're hiding them and all of a sudden 4 pop out of the truck and they're like, people are like, what the hell?
Right.
What are you
Right.
multiplying in there? What's
Right.
going on? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's your brand.
I mean,
That's your UVP, by the way.
Mhm.
And it's your authenticity, your unique value proposition for agents that don't know. You must, in today's climate of real estate, you must have the most dynamite UVP that's most authentic to you possible.
And be fully clear.
And Bill
about it.
does.
And we built a business around that. Like the
Yeah.
kids are the brand, right?
Yeah.
I work with families who need to upsize or families who need to downsize and they're finished. Like that's what I like to do. I'm not trying to be that high-end luxury townhouse agent downtown. I want to work with the families that are moving in and out of Austin and San Antonio who need bigger houses.
Yeah.
Right. That's me. And we built around that where like, I'm never going to be the person who's going to cold call or just dial and do all these things or door knock. I don't like it. I don't, the ADD doesn't allow me to do it. It's not who I am, but we built an entire business around events because I learned that I want to attract and not chase. I want to cast a wide net. I want to go somewhere where I can be in front of a bunch of people and meet 30, 40, 50, 100 people and then follow up with them from there, but not go one by one by one by one. It doesn't work for me. So in doing that, we just have, and they're a lot of fun. Events are amazing. We can do a whole hour on events.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
it pulls the kids in, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, in your videos and all your social and stuff like that, you have your, and like you said, there was something you needed to get at down the street at one of your listings.
Yeah,
and the
we-
kids are like, we got to work with dad today. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
engage
Yeah.
them in your life, like, because you'll look back and you won't have regrets because you made them part of your journey.
Yeah.
You're living your life now, Bill.
Yeah.
And that's a
You're not
that's
buying
nice
that time
to do.
back.
You can't.
Right.
No,
You're
that's
not buying
that's
it
your
back.
most non-renewable resource. And what I love for the kids is the kids get to see dad work. They get to see what it goes through. And they understand. They're going to work. They're going, obviously you go into a house. So like they get it, they know. And it's prepping them for the real world, for being out. I mean, yes, they're 3 and 6 right now, but like it's on the job training for them to just understand that like we have to go out and do these things and they love it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. I didn't see that. And I just think that it's going to only benefit them down the road.
You know, you have no idea the impact that this is making on the kids right now.
Yeah.
My son became a dad very early at 20. So I have this little beautiful 2-year-old in Costa Rica and I'm Mimi and she's Lulu and I love her to death. And I was just down visiting her a couple weeks ago and I was by myself there visiting the mom and her and I love her to pieces. And I heard her on the balcony at 6 a.m. when an airplane came by and she says, hola, papa, because in her 2-year-old brain, she knows that daddy comes on an airplane.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
At 2 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Every time she waves, like, hey, it's dad, it's dad.
Yeah.
So think about the impact that she's 2. So think about your children watching you in the day to day, and you get to be part of that. It's just incredible.
It is incredible, but it's humbling at the same time because we had a property last year that was under contract. We got it done pretty quickly, but then there was an issue with the builder. The drain from the AC, it was broken and it never got fixed. So it dripped into the wall for 3 months. A lot of water damage, came up during the option period, 2-month repair, whole thing. But my son was out there this whole time. So we're driving home one day and my daughter Zoe, she goes, hey dad, the sign's over there. Like, yeah. That's that sign. She goes, I know. That means you're not selling that house too good. We got to do something. I was like, girl, that house is under contract. I'm waiting on the builder, whatever. Whatever. We're not selling that house too good, dad. We should call some people. Fair enough.
But that's engaging your
Fair
family. What a beautiful thing, Bill. You're such a great example of that balancing the
Yeah.
family and business. I think you do a beautiful job of that. And it feels
Appreciate
innocent
that.
to you, but you will look back and you will be like, man, I pretty much said it.
Look, it sure as heck beats being a teacher at $50,000 a
When I
year.
met you, that's what you
That's
were
what I
doing.
was.
And this was your goal.
Yep.
And look
Yep.
at your life now.
And you aren't kidding when you say you pour into the same person, whether they're doing 100 million a year or the guy who got his license because he thought he might want to do this in the summer and was doing 1 deal a year for a couple of years as a teacher. That was me. And now this is my life. And I thank you for that. But you're as authentic as could be because that is absolutely true. The highest performers and the newest agent, you always gave them that same experience.
Thank you. I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
And so best part of this role is seeing people
Yeah.
like Bill, right? That have an amazing life and living everything. And, you know, there's so much power to that. I remember in middle school, so my boys are now grown, they're 23 and 20. And I remember when they were in middle school, my mom was a teacher turned principal. So I really am a big fan of teachers and things like that, but they would do career day. And so for 6 years, when my older one went, I went every year, and the younger one, I went again, to talk about real estate, and not like you getting your license, but make real estate part of your journey, right? Build wealth with it.
Mhm.
And I did it for 6 years in a row because I wanted my sons to see me in action. Like, you got to do the day to day. I went to the office, right? So my kids didn't get to see me unless I was doing a speaking thing, and I would bring them with me.
Yeah.
And it was so fun because there would be astronauts, actors, all the other people. And I'd be like, guys, don't you want to go see the other people? You've heard me now. I'm like, nope, we want to stay with you. And they were so proud of me. I'm like, I wouldn't trade that
Love
for
that.
anything. So taking your family with you is everything, right? So that is everything.
That for me is where there's a very blurry line. This doesn't work for everybody. People have, this is my work time, this is my home time, this is mine totally fluctuates.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of interwoven. So we have work time, and you're not always 100% present, but then you are present. Like we talked about it
Yeah.
this week. I got to go to my daughter's, because I have the choice. I run my own business and I can do this. At 3:30, I got to shut it down for 2 hours to go to my kids' dance and go in and do with the quads. They were doing their tap and tumbling, and then I went over to Zoe and we did jazz. And I'll tell you, the stuff they do in there with like jazz and ballet, like those holds and stuff, is intense. But I was crushing it. I was doing sassy walks. I mean, you name it, we were doing it.
Yeah.
And we get to do that and then take the kids
Sassy
out.
walks.
Sassy walks. So they go, the dads can do the cool dude walks. I'm like, I'm doing the sassy
You're
walk.
like, I'm doing
Yeah.
sassy.
Exactly. And then we got to take them out to Hat Creek and get burgers and play on the playscape and go home, put them in bed. And then I got work done after they went to bed.
Yeah.
And then I got to go spend time with my wife. So it's vital. And that's another thing too. Like the kids are one thing, but your relationship with your spouse is everything.
Community.
And we put that off so much because it's like, oh, like you said, I have a date night. That has to be a non-negotiable, or it's just not going to work.
Yep.
And we do. I mean, when we had the babies, we put metrics to it. Like, okay, like this is going to change our entire lives. We're not just going to be the parents that are just shackled to our kids and what they have to do. So we do at least 1 to 2 vacations a year, just the two of us. We do at least quarterly. We do a night downtown in Austin, just get a hotel, get a nice dinner, relax, whatever. And then we do a date night weekly, bi-weekly at worst. And it's so important because it keeps that alive. It keeps that relationship, because that is the number one relationship. Because without mama,
Yep.
the kid, like if that's not clicking, it's not working for the kids, and the business doesn't matter, and it's all a big circle.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that. That's vital.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
For
It's so
agents,
important.
that are wondering or wanting more like step by step advice, because Bill's given a lot. You guys have all given a lot of great advice. What Bill has told you, the number one thing is find your authentic center, and then what will be revealed are your steps. So Bill's not going to give you like go on date nights. I mean, you just heard him say that. So put it on your calendar. Go on date nights. Make them a priority. Really, what he's talking about is find you. And then that real, authentic, irreplaceable you will be able to make decisions at a lot higher level. And there are a lot more serving decisions that will affect your life in the best way possible. Because now you're making decisions for you, not to make yourself look good or to impress somebody else or to make sure you get that client or collect that check or get that next listing. Although those things are important, they are secondary.
Mhm.
They're
And
secondary.
it goes for what you are putting out as well in content and on social media. Like people that'll be on social media, but like putting up this like fake, like I'm this high-end agent, this is all I do. And I said, yeah, it's important to like let people know you're an agent, but like I barely talk real estate on my Instagram. My Instagram's about the kids. Like if I do a video about real estate, it involves the kids. And we've done well with that. And we get a lot. We had a listing appointment this week that we went on, and I walked in and knew the person because they knew the true me from social media.
Yeah.
And it was like we had known each other for a while when we had just met for the first time.
Yeah. It's amazing.
We have like 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we have, there's so many things we could, there's so many rabbit holes we could go down. I want to open this up so all of us can keep just discussing stuff. Let's talk about at least one piece of advice, metric that all of us have and can offer the agents listening or whoever's listening too. I'm sure there's,
Oh yeah.
out of the hundreds of thousands of people that download this podcast, I'm sure there's other people listening besides agents. What can they do to maintain mental and emotional health? And like, what small steps can be taken, like in your opinion?
Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. or even if you don't think you need it, because you do. Therapy changed my life. I never thought I'd be the guy that went to therapy. Something traumatic happened, did it, went, changed everything. And then being there and being the person that could then give when you weren't able to give because you didn't have that to give, and it changes everything.
Yeah.
Doing that, and then really finding something like with Dr. Hutson, like I found somebody medically that I trust who's like changing everything about me and my body and how I process things coming in mentally, physically. Those are two game changers. And the third one I think is just completely being honest with yourself. Like if you're not going to be who you are, don't be that person.
Truly are.
Truly
Yeah.
are. And that's where the other 1 and 2 have to come into play first. Because if you don't work on you, you don't know who you are. So you can't just, this is who I am. Like you have to figure that out, and that takes time.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I talk to right now, they're struggling with their passion, right? And they're like, what's my purpose? What's
Purpose,
my
yeah.
purpose in life, right? Because if I don't have my purpose, I can't get out of bed. And so just like everything you said, it's all about, he talked about community,
Mm-hmm.
that he's really engaged with his community. He talked about therapy and having a great doctor relationship. And you know, a great therapist or a great coach will help you see the blind spots that you may not even realize yourself of who you are, right? But if you're not there yet, you know, the number one thing for creating just a winning team, because you keep saying solo agent, you know, it's isolating, right? So you have to build your own team, whether you're a solo agent,
Yeah.
whether you're a doctor, whether you're like me now traveling around the country. It's isolating if you don't have your people. So I have a great group of people around me that I can call for anything. And that's,
Yeah.
I call them my family.
Yeah.
But there's this great exercise that you can do, and literally on a piece of paper, because everything in life is an internal job, whether it's your physical, but you got to get your mind right, right? And life is an inside out job. And like we said, if everything on the outside is great and you're not great here, it doesn't matter. Right? You're not really having a significant life. So you could literally on a piece of paper on one side say, what's happening? What's working really well in my life right now? What am I just nailing? What's awesome? And then on the other side, you write, hey, where could it does not that I'm bad at it, but where's some room for improvement?
Yeah.
And then pick one of those things on that right column that, man, if I just tweak, it could be the relationship with your son. It could be your health. It could be whatever. If I made that improvement, how would that impact everything else? It's like those life high circles you see,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
Where that imbalanced wheel and all that. Literally take the time but it all comes back to authenticity.
Yeah.
And when you think you're supposed to be a certain way, that is not serving you.
I don't know how I'm
Find your way.
52 minutes into a conversation with Melanie Kennemann and I haven't heard the words life by design yet. Because I hear that and I think of you, and you have always pressed that on all of us because it is our life. We have the ultimate power to design it.
Everything is a choice.
It's all a choice.
Everything,
And
yeah.
whatever, nothing happens to you. It happens because of you.
Yeah.
That's right.
As a catalyst, as a endpoint or a midpoint.
And it comes back to the accountability piece though.
Yeah.
And I love that you said integrity, because I'm a big person, integrity with yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're lying to yourself,
You're putting that out there.
and that's going to mess with everything else.
Yep.
So integrity starts with yourself,
Yep.
but first you have to find who you are, what you want to be. I stayed 10 years longer in a marriage than I should have because I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Me too.
Their dad's German, you know, he wouldn't be there. Well, now the kids are grown adults that said dad was never here anyway. I'm like, well, that's ironic, right? Or stay in the team leader role because my agents need me. No, they need me to be the best version of myself because guess
Period.
what? They're all with me for their life
And
now.
they're watching you
And they're watching.
and they're modeling.
And
Yep.
that's what they're saying. They're like, I hate that you're leaving the role and I'm so
And
excited.
yeah.
Take me with you.
Yep.
And you're inspiring me. So, but it took a lot of my self-work to free myself
Yep.
and giving myself permission to live my most authentic life. I've done the work with therapy. I've done the health work. Life is a journey. You never arrive.
Yeah.
But when you really get clear, I have clarity now. And it changes everything. But I've got that list of what's working well and what's not. But you're just real with yourself and don't make it about other people. Nobody else really cares.
And for anybody listening that's like, well, I'm not 22. I don't have clarity now. What are you, like 35? You got clarity at 35?
35 if you want me.
37. You've gotten clarity at a certain age and
Yes, thank you for saying
a
it.
certain experience level in life.
Yes.
You mentioned you have 20-year-old, 23-year-old
Yes.
kids. So
was 12.
there's a certain level of experience that you have with that,
Yes.
that now you're learning, you're getting clarity. And it sounds like now you're actually saying, like we talked about it yesterday, what about me? I matter the most,
Yes.
and I'm going to make myself matter the most. What about Melanie? What does Melanie want now? Because maybe I've been sacrificing for everybody else
Exactly.
and thinking that's the right thing to do. That's
Yeah.
the thing I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. And you know how freeing that is?
Oh, it's
I
huge.
wake up every day so freaking happy with this smile on my face. So when I went to go see Lulu a couple weeks ago, I was coming back because she was starting preschool. So I said, well, I'm going this week because August, I gave myself the month to just be
Yeah.
and breathe and just allow myself to detox from 17 years of being team leader and not rushing into coaching other
Yeah.
leaders. And I didn't book anything to go teach, right? And I was coming back from Costa Rica 4 different times. Someone stopped me to say, you're so beautiful. And I don't take that and I don't say that in a way. It was my inner energy is what
Their
they're
energy. Yeah.
It was my smile. Right.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I'm like, Melanie, you are on the right track.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, cool.
That's
And how
amazing.
beautiful is that to be embraced by people like that? Do you get what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's like living in alignment because you free yourself, then you get a free. That's why they say on the airplane, put your mask on first before you can help anybody else.
Yeah. We
Yes.
talked about that yesterday. The attitude you carry and the energy you carry into a room is going to make a big impact on that room and
Huge.
on you.
Huge.
Dr. Lauren,
Yes.
what do you say?
So to piggyback on both of what you guys have said, it's so important with mental health to seek therapy, ask for help. Absolutely agree with that 100%. And to be consistently, positively persistent. So making lists, like you said, is totally key in developing your destiny. Because without these lists, you don't know who you are and where you're lacking and what holes to plug. So for example, if you're trying to get to a goal, whether it's physical, work life, whatever, you need to sit down and be honest with yourself about what it is you need to do to get there and what you need to cut out. A lot of people have a lot of fluff in their life that they don't
Yeah.
need, and it ends up being extremely negative.
The
One of the
elimination.
biggest negative aspects that we think now that is totally okay is alcohol. It is one of the biggest substances that just totally demolishes our brain, our heart, our liver, our gut. And it is the only substance in this country that is utilized as something to be
fun.
with. Yeah.
You're
you're-
almost the odd person if you're not drinking. right?
Exactly. Why are you not drinking? Why are you not getting annihilated? Well, I have this huge meeting tomorrow and I don't want my upper eyelids to be puffy and I don't want to have to keep clearing my throat and I want to be able to make full sentences like, all the things that we think should be,
Right.
easy forthcoming, but alcohol clogs that up big time.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling in any aspect of your life and you drink, I say just cut it out for 30 days and see what happens. That's my biggest
If
thing.
you're drinking daily,
Mhm.
that 30 days, you will open up a lot of stuff that
Yes.
the alcohol is helping
Yes.
you avoid. However,
Yes.
you need to open that stuff and deal with it.
And that's why you have therapy.
Yeah. And you can go
lists.
back. You can go back to the alcohol. However, the alcohol will have a different job in your life. It'll have a fun job or it'll have like actual enjoyment versus cover up or escape
Right.
or avoidance.
Escapism. You don't need
Yep.
it to escape it. It can be utilized as a social. I'm not saying,
Yeah, totally.
be
Or you
sober
just learn that
forever.
you don't really like it and it makes you not feel good.
Yeah. And that was me. I'm like,
There's that too.
well, I like it. I want to like
Yeah.
it. I want to drink like I drank in college. I want to do that stuff. I just don't like the way I feel. And on top of that, like we talked about this, what are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do to hit your goal? And what are you willing to sacrifice or not sacrifice? And those 4 questions alone will help you understand, well, look, I have agents that I coach who are like, well, I want to do $1 million. I want to do 7 figures. And I go, what are you willing to do? Anything it takes. You're willing to not be with your family for dinner for 6 months? No. Cool. Cut that back to $500,000. You're willing to do this, this, and this? No. Cool. Cut that back to $250,000. Right. So like this pie in the sky idea is really not realistic to you because you're not willing to do the work. And I
Right.
find that out of the thousands of agents that I've coached, like willingness to do or not do the work or make sacrifices is this massive piece of the puzzle.
And it's huge right now because we
Yeah.
live in a world where everybody wants everything overnight. And
Quickly.
yeah, there is no like long-term hard work behind it. Everybody
Yeah.
just wants things like this, and it doesn't happen that way.
Yes. So mine, as we wrap up here, mine is same thing I said earlier, honoring the commitments to yourself. So if you set something and start small, if you say, I'm going to make my bed every morning, then make your bed every morning and honor a consequence that you set for yourself. Like, so simple. Like, how many people are going to actually hold a consequence, hold themselves accountable to a consequence to themselves? Not many. However, if you have that level of integrity with yourself, you're going to build a massive new habit. And that's going to bleed into the relationships. It's going to bleed into your business. So start small. I brush my teeth every morning before I do this, or I get up and I drink 12 ounces of water, or I get up and I do this. And really should be starting your day with that. I get up and I give 5 pieces of gratitude. I get up and I do this. And at night, I must do this before I do anything else. Okay. Honor that for 30 days, right? Like no alcohol. Yeah. Honor that for 30 days. I think the fast delivery, unless you're ordering from Temu, the fast delivery is something that we're expecting. However, brain change, wire change, neuroplasticity, that stuff happens slow, and you have to be consistent. And so just start to set some pieces for you that are just for you, and then honor them and see what happens in 30 days, like daily. Do not drop the ball on you. And you start to honor yourself and you start to build this bigger thing. Okay. We're going to wrap.
And if you do all those things, you'll probably sell some more houses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a natural occurrence.
Yeah.
It's a natural occurrence. You get rid of the stuff that doesn't work. You start bringing in the stuff that does.
Have you heard of the 66-day challenge from the One Thing?
Yes.
Right? There's like on the onething.com, anybody can do this. It's open for everybody. They can download. It's a visual and it has 66, because they say the 33-day habit, right? Like nobody can get a habit in 33 days, but for 66 days, if whatever it is, don't drink, or going to bed on time, or no social media, whatever it is, right? Walking 5 times a week. And then you physically mark it off every day. And if you stop and miss a day, you have to start over.
Yeah.
Those are the little things when you say consequences.
Visual scoreboards
It's a
are
visual scoreboard.
Yep.
Exactly. And that is play to win. Set yourself up for success, but you got to have the key indicators that you can track.
Exactly.
To actually win. You're like, oh my gosh, it's 60. That's 66. You're like, man, I
Yeah.
don't even miss alcohol or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's
I love
amazing.
it. So, okay. Big thank you to Melanie Kennemann,
My pleasure being here.
Such a
Thank you for
pleasure
having me.
meeting you.
Dr. Lauren Hutson,
Thank you so much.
Woohoo.
Bill Cafferata,
Sure.
and I'm Ian Lobas, your host. We've had a blast, fast hour, and we could do 10 hours of this. We could just do roundtable and just be dropping some serious info and knowledge and steps too, because people have to be able to take action. So thank you all for being here. It's really awesome to just deep dive.
Thank
I
you
just-
for having us, and thank you to our
Yeah,
audience.
thank
Yes. That's not a button. That's real. Yeah.
our hope here is that whether you came to this podcast to find something or stumbled across it and said, what am I listening to for 45 minutes? And then something struck a nerve, that it does give you the opportunity to find what it is that you need to make that difference with for your health, and then parlay that into a bigger business.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
as Aaron says on the podcast, for the guests, where can you find us? Well, where you can find Bill and I is at Agents Coaching Agents Facebook group.
Yep.
It's free. We do a masterclass every Friday. Just come on in. We'll help you with leverage, with systems processes, with lead gen, with your goal setting. And we're live every Friday at 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. Central,
1 Central, 2
2
Eastern.
p.m. Eastern.
Yep. And then
Super easy.
on
Come and join the
Instagram,
group.
I'm at Bill Cafferata. And then if you want to see a lot of really fun videos with the kids, you can find us Instagram, TikTok, all over the board at CAF Squad, CAFF Squad.
Melanie, where can people find you?
At Melanie Owen Kennemann. That's all my socials.
Cool.
My Instagram is at Austin Medicine, and our website is austinmedicineclinic.com.
Sweet. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Take action. Do something. One of the things that you learned here or got here can be put into action literally when you leave this podcast. That's all we ask. It's just take something, put it into action. Don't be one of the people that just spent an hour in the gym listening to this, didn't get anything from it, and then blames the podcast. We just dropped some serious knowledge for you. And it was distilled down so you can just hit it fast. So take action. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for joining us. All right, rock stars, take care.